Ma'am, do you believe India will remain a bright spot, ma'am?
Please do. Next question, please.
Sir, the crude oil prices have softened substantially. Can we expect the benefits to be passed on to consumers by way of a lowering of excise as well?
Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.
We can't just damn it. It's been passed in the parliament.
Yeah.
It's been passed in every state assembly. It might have its flaws. It might probably give you difficulties. But I'm sorry. It's a qanoon of this country.
Pradhani flexible pedtaru. You will, as the district administrator, ensure that that shall not be removed, that shall not be torn, that shall not be affected.
जो सक्सेसफुल फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर होता है वो वही होता है जिसकी जेब काटी जाती है, उसको पता ही नहीं चलता है कौन सी जेब काटी। तो आप बताइए कि आप सक्सेसफुल हो।
The mindsets of the millennials who are now preferring not to commit an EMI towards buying an automobile, instead would prefer to have Ola and Uber and everything else, or take the metro. So a whole lot of factors are influencing the automobile sector.
मैं इतना लहसुन प्याज नहीं खाती हूँ जी, so don't worry. मैं ऐसे परिवार से आती हूँ जहाँ अनियन प्याज का मतलब नहीं रखते हैं।
Few months from now, when there is onset of winters in northern India, you don't have to do much. You just have to log into the WHO's website, look for the AQI, and you will realize the top cities topping that list of terrible air quality. Diwali, Delhi, Darbhanga, Gwalior, they become living hell during winters.
அடுத்தது காபி குடிக்கணும், காரம் வேணுங்கிறது. காரத்துக்கு 12ன்னு சொன்னா உடனே சண்டைக்கு வர்றது. இது டெய்லி எங்களுக்கு நடக்குது பிரச்சனை.
Tomorrow, if the country collapse, who will lose? Poor, they don't have the home. Rich, they don't have the stake. Middle class, they are in India. They earn in India, they pay taxes in India, they invest in India. So don't you think those who have the major stake in the functioning of the system, they should be the one running the system? Perhaps Aristotle is not wrong. Aristotle believed that the middle class could provide the best foundations for a mixed government. Very fascinating what Aristotle is writing in his book Politics. He's arguing that the best political community is the one where the middle class holds a significant influence. Nirmala Sitharamanji would be shell-shocked to hear this. She tried her best to destroy this class. She is still trying her best to destroy this class.
They are really agitated. They think that, this is not the right thing to have done.
Why not?
Because it also comes as a surprise. Because when somebody makes an investment,
Tax is always given as an advance notice.
Ma'am,
no,
why not
increasing tax. Whoever says about tax in advance.
But I also have this opinion that we wrongly blame her. She is not responsible. She's a Rajya Sabha MP. It is a known fact. Let me tell you some politics. Rajya Sabha MPs who go on to become ministers, generally speaking, they are puppets. And why not? They do not enjoy the popular support. And when you do not enjoy the support of the public, of your constituency, you lose a voice also. No, you have no backing. They are not accountable to the public, the way Lok Sabha MP is. Many years ago, I visited the house of a minister who was a Lok Sabha MP. And he told me, Naman, I rarely stay in my house in Delhi. He said, my house in Delhi is used by my people from my constituency whenever they are in Delhi. So they find my house, they come here, they find the shelter. Very interesting. And yes, his house in Delhi, always crowded. And there are festivities going on. Water, tea, biscuits, huge lines, so that minister can recommend or his PA can recommend someone to go to AIMS or wherever. Just visit the house of any Rajya Sabha MP who's also a minister. You will not see large spots of public there. You will see relatively less public in comparison to the house of a minister who's also a Lok Sabha MP. Pure fact. And makes sense also. Perhaps that is the reason some of the most controversial ministers today doing deplorable job. They are Rajya Sabha MPs because they are the puppets. Whatsoever the master tells them, they are doing it. They are dependent on their master for all their perks and privileges. railways minister is at the helm of innumerable train accidents. Railway minister, such an important portfolio, he's a Rajya Sabha MP. Our external affairs minister, who is at the helm of ruined relations with our neighbors. Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Maldives, on and on. A Rajya Sabha MP. Neighborhood first. What happened to it? Our finance minister, a Rajya Sabha MP. Why would she care about the plight of the middle class, or any class for that matter? Not even directly accountable to them. Her son-in-law is the OSD to the Prime Minister, and her husband, anti-Modi. But yes, middle class in India is crumbling. That's a fact. And it will continue to crumble. At a time when wealthy folks like Vinod Adani or Hiranandani, I was shocked to find Hiranandani's name in this list. He bought a passport of Cyprus. Vinod Adani bought a Cyprus passport also, lives in Dubai tax-free. Rich can do it. But what can India's middle class do? India's middle class is subjected to significant income tax rates. Why? Because they have to fund the vote bank of the poor class, who are exempted from paying the income tax. Looks like they have the incentive to not be in the middle class. And there are many benefits of ensuring that you show in less income. You will get the benefits of EWS reservation, you will pay zero taxes, etc., etc. There are more incentives to not be in that middle class. All classes, they are burdened with GST on health insurance. What kind of a country are you becoming when you ask for tax on health insurance? Greece, Portugal, even Hungary, Dr. Viktor Orban, many other countries, they provide free health services. First, your health services are deplorable, and forget about health services. Even doctors are not safe. On top of that, if people try to take things in their own hands, they are taxed for buying the insurance. Few months from now, when there is onset of winters in northern India, you don't have to do much. You just have to log into the WHO's website, look for the AQI, and you will realize the top cities topping that list of terrible air quality. Rewari, Delhi, Darbhanga, Gwalior, they become living hell during winters. Governments will not do much, so what people do is they buy air purifiers to look for solutions. The middle class, they can't even ask for sick leaves from office, so they have to ensure a solution. They buy air purifiers. Guess what? 18% GST on air purifiers. I asked a friend, why there is so much joblessness now. He said, just look at how government is harassing companies for taxes. Companies, they provide employment. They are forced to shift to Dubai or Singapore. Flipkart did that. Infosys, they have shifted most of their operations elsewhere, by the way. Narayan Murthy ji will come and tell you that Indians should work 17 hours a day.
My request is that our youngsters must say, this is my country. I want to work 70 hours a week.
But he has very quietly shifted many of his tax liabilities abroad. Adani ji has also strategically registered several companies in offshore jurisdiction. Singapore, Mauritius, Cayman Island. And when you do that, you also need to fill in certain buckets, provide local employment in those countries. Looks like all these companies have India in their names but are registered elsewhere. And we cannot blame them. We should not even blame them. Because government is harassing them for taxes. ED is harassing them for political donations. And when that happens, they move abroad. They have a business to run. And when they move abroad, what happens to the middle class? First and foremost, they will lose a job. And when they lose a job, then these companies need to provide severance check. A check that you get when you lose a job. And even that is taxed in India. But then there are brainwashed junkies more concerned about Muslims and Hindus. Muslims are in danger, Hindus are in danger. Muslims are not in danger. Hindus are not in danger. Looks like every citizen of India is in danger. Jharkhand, Delhi, Kolkata, those perpetrators who raped, they did not ask for Aadhaar card to ascertain which religion you belong to. Of course, that may happen when you go out to vote. But coming back to Aristotle, the father of political science, one of the most rational beings, why is he saying that the government that is ruled by the middle class, that government would be the most stable government? And if that is the case, why is Indian government not listening? Aristotle is observing societies where either the rich or the poor, when they dominate, the result is often conflict and tyranny. I'm just twisting the sentence. Is he right? Can we agree? Let's think from the rich's standpoint. French Revolution. What was it all about? Domination by the rich, at least before the revolution. Before the revolution, France was an absolute monarchy. Powers were concentrated in whose hands? In the hand of the king and a few aristocrats. The common people, they were heavily taxed. They had little political power. Oppression of the poor eventually led to the widespread unrest. And with the unrest, things didn't change dramatically. After the revolution, radical phase came in France. Reign of Terror is what they call it in the French books. Saw the rise of many populist leaders, one of whom is very famous. What's his name? Read French Revolution. I will not tell you the name. Reign of Terror saw the campaign of political purges, executions, against whom? Against the perceived enemies of the revolution. Something similar that you may see today in Bangladesh. That period in France exemplified what? Tyranny of the majority after the revolution. More recently, look at countries in Latin America, dictatorships over there. Throughout 20th centuries, power in many of those countries, Chile, Argentina, power was concentrated in the hands of wealthy landowners, in the hands of military elites. The poor, the working class population, they had little say or no say in the government. And this led to what? Inequality, lack of political representation. And that formed the recipe for social unrest. Latin American countries, they experienced military coups. And in all those coups, military aligned with the wealthy. And they seized the power to maintain the order. But can you think of any country that's the rich story? Bangladesh, Pakistan, they also fall in that category, right? How? What happened in Bangladesh? What has happened in Pakistan? Bangladesh, again, power concentrated in the hands of a few political families. And of course, their associated elites. Whenever the elite, whenever they feel threatened, that elite will often resort to repressive measures, suppression of the opposition, control over the judiciary, limiting of press freedom. I can quote examples also. Suppression of the opposition, to arrest the opposition leader, chief ministers of certain states, control over the judiciary, limit the press freedom. How do you do that? Broadcasting bill. That leads to tyranny. That is exactly what happened in Bangladesh. Using the word Bangladesh. Government prioritized maintaining its grip on the power over the welfare of the general population. Pakistan, similar story. But can you think of any country where poor had the power? And even for that country, things don't go well. How can we forget Venezuela? Under the leadership of Hugo Chavez and later Maduro, what happened? Venezuela pursued policies that heavily favored the poor. Government implemented extensive social programs, wealth redistribution policies. Of course, many in India will also talk about that. That's how they gained popularity amongst the poor. But then what happened? Hyperinflation, massive shortages of basic goods, mass emigration, and in no time, even public services, they collapsed. The economy worsened. And as a result of that, Maduro then became what? He became authoritarian in Venezuela, started imprisoning the political opponents, suppressing the protests. He started undermining democratic institutions. Looks like Aristotle is not wrong after all. Do you think something similar can happen in India or is happening in India? One of India's strength is that it has relatively strong institutions. I don't deny that. There is independent judiciary. Up until now, at least on YouTube and social media, there is vibrant media. But if that starts getting stifled, it will be concerning in the long run. I'll come back to the same question. Why did Aristotle advocate for the rule by the middle class? So yeah, the way we have been analyzing the world around us today, perhaps Aristotle would have done the same. Would have observed societies, rich, poor. With the rich, he would have seen conflicts. With the poor, he would have seen tyranny. Aristotle said that the rich, they tend to rule in their own interests. And when that happens, it leads to oligarchy. And when the poor, when they get the power, they establish a form of democracy that could be a mob rule. Both extremes, they are detrimental to the stability and justice of the state. Middle class, more moderate. That's what he says in their desires and actions. They're neither so wealthy as to be arrogant, nor they are so exploitative because of the wealth. They are not poor, so they may not be so envious and resentful. And a question was raised to me. I would perhaps say that middle class have a stake in the system. What do I mean by that? Just think about this. Think of all the examples that I gave you. As a middle class, you earn money. Where will you invest first? You will invest in your own country. You will buy properties. That's an example. If you were poor, you may not be able to do that. And if you were rich, you will be investing in properties outside of India. The way Adanis have done, the way Mittals are doing now, the way Ambanis have done, the way Hiranandanis have done. Pure logic, right? You'll diversify your portfolio. Tomorrow, if the country collapses, who will lose? Poor, they don't have the home. Rich, they don't have the stake. Middle class, they are in India. They earn in India, they pay taxes in India, they invest in India. So don't you think those who have the major stake in the functioning of the system, they should be the one running the system? Perhaps Aristotle is not wrong. Aristotle believed that the middle class could provide the best foundations for a mixed government.